Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're drifting gently into the mysterious world of tornadoes that arrive without warning. How they form, why they sometimes surprise even our most advanced systems, and what the atmosphere is whispering when the sky suddenly begins to spin. There's no need to worry here, no urgency, no alarms. Just quiet curiosity and a soft place to rest beneath the weather's watchful eye. Maybe your day has been long. Maybe your mind has been spinning too. Or maybe you're simply here to slow down, to listen, to breathe, to float among clouds of gentle science and nighttime skies. Wherever you are tonight, whatever the weather is like outside your window, you're in the right place. If these peaceful meteorological wanderings bring you comfort, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps more sleepy travelers find their way here, to this calm corner of the clouds. For now, let your body settle, let your thoughts slow, let the winds of wonder carry us quietly forward. Let's begin. The sky above us can look so peaceful. A soft blue dome, unbothered, unbroken, but sometimes, even under the gentlest skies, something quiet is unfolding. Not all storms begin with drama. Some start in silence, and some of the most powerful ones begin in balance. Tonight, we lie beneath that stillness, and we listen to the way air prepares itself, slowly, gracefully, for something more. Up here, above the rooftops and treetops, the air lives in layers, each one a little different, a little warmer or cooler, a little wetter or drier. At the surface, the sun warms the land. That warmth rises, not in a rush, just a patient upward drift. It carries moisture with it, little invisible beads of water suspended in air. Above that, cooler, drier air waits. And between these layers, the atmosphere finds a kind of temporary peace. This is what we call atmospheric stratification, a delicate stacking of air masses. For a while, they remain undisturbed, but the balance is fragile. All it takes is a gentle nudge, a front gliding in from the west, or a shift in wind, barely felt on your skin, and the balance tips. The warm air begins to rise faster. The cooler air above resists, just slightly, creating tension in the sky. Not the kind that breaks things, the kind that builds. That rising air cools as it climbs, and moisture begins to condense. Tiny droplets form, the very beginnings of a cloud, a soft breath in the sky. When conditions are right, that breath becomes deeper. The cloud grows taller, broader, reaching upward like a dream stretching in sleep. And still, from the ground, it all looks calm. A blue sky with a growing puff of white. Nothing loud, nothing fast. But inside, the atmosphere is preparing. It's stacking energy in invisible shelves. Every shift in temperature, every pocket of humidity, adds a note to the symphony. Meteorologists call this instability, a beautiful word for air that's ready to move. And when the layers are just right, when the warmth below wants to rise, and the coolness above allows it to climb, the sky begins to change. Not suddenly, not violently, but with patience, grace, and quiet strength. This is where tornadoes are born, not in chaos, but in this calm ballet of temperature, moisture, and movement, a dance of invisible lines. So, as you rest tonight, picture those layers above you, stacked like soft blankets of air, each one shifting ever so slightly, waiting for the moment the sky decides to stir. And when it does, the story continues. Before the spiral, before the wind sings through the trees, before any warning appears on a screen, there are ingredients quietly gathering, The sky is a quiet kitchen tonight, and the recipe for a tornado begins not with thunder, but with things you cannot see. We begin with instability, the atmosphere's quiet readiness to change. When warm, moist air sits beneath cooler, drier air, it longs to rise, like steam from a teacup, like breath on a cool morning. The air wants to lift, but it doesn't rise on its own. It needs a reason. That's where the second ingredient arrives: lift. It might come from a warm front nudging in from afar, or a mountain breeze, or the heat rising off sun-warmed earth. Lift gives the air a gentle push, encouraging it to rise into the cooler air above. As the warm air climbs, it begins to cool. Moisture condenses into clouds. If enough air rises, the clouds grow deeper, taller, heavier. The atmosphere is beginning to build. Now we add moisture, invisible but everywhere, held in the air like a secret, waiting to be released. Moisture gives clouds their weight, their softness, and the energy they need to build even further skyward. But the final ingredient is the one we feel the least. And yet, it's the one that gives the storm its spin: wind shear. A gentle difference in wind, where one layer moves east and another moves slightly faster, or in a different direction. This doesn't tear the sky, it turns it. It rolls the air into an invisible barrel, a sideways swirl like a ribbon floating in a breeze. When this rolling motion meets rising air, it can tilt upright and begin to rotate, slowly, softly, almost hesitantly. This is how tornadoes begin, with no roar, no drama, just a gathering of ingredients, patiently layered by the sky. And all of it, every step, is invisible from the ground. No sirens, no sudden gust, just a hush, and a sky preparing something in secret. It is this quiet gathering, this unseen recipe, that makes meteorology a kind of poetry. So as you drift now, let your mind float upward, to where the warm air lifts, the cool air waits, and the spin begins in silence. A spiral, not yet formed, but patiently waiting to be born. The sky speaks, but not always in ways we understand. Even with satellites, supercomputers, and radar pulses spinning endlessly overhead, there are moments, quiet, delicate moments, when the atmosphere slips past us, not out of defiance, but mystery. Tonight, we drift into that space between prediction and surprise, where tornadoes arrive not with great warning, but as soft interruptions in our understanding. Forecasting is a gentle art, a partnership between knowledge and nature. Meteorologists study patterns in the wind, textures in the clouds, signals written in temperature, humidity, and motion. They read the sky like a language with pauses, hesitations, and silences. But even for the most experienced reader, some pages remain blank. Sometimes the ingredients gather without much fanfare. The instability is there, the moisture, the lift, but the rotation. It hides, subtle, shallow, short-lived. And without that rotation, without that spinning signal, there's no obvious warning to give. Other times, a storm looks strong, but not quite strong enough. Its behavior dances just below the threshold of concern. A slight wind shift, a narrow pocket of humidity, a whisper of shear, and then, suddenly, a funnel begins to lower. Not with drama, but with purpose. These are the tornadoes that surprise us, the ones that slip through the spaces between data. They may form between radar scans, or too close to the ground for satellite eyes to see. They are not signs of failure. They are reminders. Reminders that the sky is more than data. It's alive and layered and full of soft riddles. Even our most advanced technology listens in intervals. Radars scan every few minutes, but tornadoes can form in seconds. And human eyes, though sharp and trained, can't see through trees, or night, or walls of rain. So sometimes, a storm will write its own story, one we only discover afterward. But even then, meteorologists continue listening. They analyze, they learn, they refine the tools that read the wind. Each mist whisper becomes a guide, each quiet tornado a teacher. And the work goes on, patient, gentle, hopeful. So, when we say a storm formed without warning, what we mean is it formed without clear warning, because the sky did speak, but softly, in hints, in fragments, in moments between scans. And tonight, as you rest, you can imagine those hidden signals, drifting like feathers on high winds, still waiting to be understood. The forecast is not always perfect, but it is full of care and curiosity and quiet pursuit. And above all, it is filled with wonder. Some spirals hide. Even as they form, even as they dance down from cloud to ground, they remain veiled, wrapped in curtains of rain, hidden in the hush. These are the quiet ones, the ghostly ones, the rain-wrapped tornadoes. Tonight, we wander into their misty world. Imagine a thunderstorm, large, blooming, and full of motion. Rain falls in thick sheets, not gently, but steadily, a grey curtain drawn across the stage of the sky. And behind that curtain, a spiral begins. To those watching from the ground, there may be no sign, no visible funnel, no clear rotation, just rain, endless and blurring, softly hiding everything behind it. Even radar can be deceived. Its beams scan in sweeping slices, but heavy precipitation can scatter or shield the signals. And if the funnel forms close to the ground, beneath the radar's reach, it may go unseen. These tornadoes don't roar into view. They drift silently in the background, a shadow within a shadow, a whisper behind the rain. And by the time they're known, they've already come and gone. They often form in what meteorologists call high precipitation supercells, storms rich with moisture, where rain wraps tightly around the core. In these storms, the tornado is cradled, not in open air, but in a womb of rainfall, soft, hidden, but powerful all the same. To witness one is rare, to predict one is difficult, but to understand them, we must slow down. We must listen differently. These rain-wrapped spirals remind us that not everything seeks attention. Not every force in nature arrives with a clear face. Some are content to move unseen, and yet they shape the world just the same. They teach us to look beyond what's obvious, to notice small changes in wind, or odd swirls in falling leaves, or the way animals grow suddenly quiet. Because sometimes, the most remarkable things are hiding just beyond the veil, in the grey, in the mist, in the spaces where light and motion blur. Tonight, let yourself drift into that space, that quiet, rain-wrapped place, where the air turns softly, and the sky writes its secrets in watercolor greys. A spiral, spinning in the shadows, not lost, just quietly moving through the rain. Far above us, unseen to the eye, a silent beam sweeps across the sky. This is radar, the quiet sentinel of meteorology, a watchful, invisible gaze, scanning the atmosphere with pulses of radio waves, day and night. But even this gentle watcher has its blind spots. Tonight, we lie back and drift into the way radar sees, and the quiet places it sometimes misses. Radar doesn't see the sky the way you or I do. It sends out a pulse, a tiny burst of energy, and waits for the echo. When the pulse meets rain, snow, hail, or even the swirling winds of a tornado, it bounces back. That echo is recorded interpreted, transformed into a picture. Not a photograph, but a map of motion, a story told in color and time. Radar scans in slices, long circular bands that grow wider with distance. It begins close to the ground, then slowly angles higher and higher and higher still. Each tilt reaches farther, but sees the sky from above. And here's the quiet truth. The farther from the radar you go, the higher in the sky it looks. So, if a tornado forms close to the ground, and it happens far from the radar tower, it may slip beneath the beam, invisible, unseen, moving in a fold of atmosphere that radar just doesn't touch. This is what meteorologists call the radar gap, not a failure, but a limit. The Earth curves. Radar travels in straight lines. Eventually, those lines soar above the clouds, leaving a layer, the lowest layer, unscanned. And tornadoes, especially the small or short-lived ones, can nestle quietly in that space, touching down unseen, turning softly in silence. Even dual polarization radar, with its improved sensitivity, can't always catch the delicate rotation happening just above rooftops. Rain can blur the signal. Distance can dilute it. Timing, too. Radar scans take a moment to complete. And sometimes, a spiral forms between those moments. This is why radar images refresh in minutes, but a tornado can be born in seconds. So, even with our best tools, there are still places the atmosphere keeps to itself. But meteorologists know these limits. They don't rely on one set of eyes. They watch the skies. They listen to spotters. They study the wind, the clouds, the sound of silence before the change. And still, even with all this care, some spirals spin unseen. Not because we aren't looking, but because the sky is vast, and sometimes the softest stories unfold just out of sight. So, as you rest tonight, imagine the radar beam sweeping gently over the landscape, round and round, quietly listening. And below, in a quiet fold of sky, a breeze gathers, soft, patient, almost dreaming. Some stories are brief, a few lines written in wind, then gone. Tonight, we explore the tornadoes that live for only moments, a dance of air so quick, so quiet, they come and go before the sky even finishes speaking. These are the short-lived storms, the flickers, the whispers of rotation. They begin, like all others, with warmth, with moisture, with a gentle nudge from the wind. A boundary forms where warm and cool air meet like old friends. Clouds begin to build, tall and slow, like a thought rising in the mind. And then, a spark, a small twist in the air, a sudden shift in direction. And just for a moment, a ghost funnel forms. It may not reach all the way to the ground. It may not last longer than a breath. But when it does, when that spiral touches Earth, it becomes a tornado. Not the kind that carves wide paths, but the kind that tiptoes, touches down gently, then lifts again like a passing breeze. These tornadoes often live for less than 10 minutes, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, and sometimes only 1. Too quick for radar to detect, too brief for warnings to issue. They flicker into existence between updates, like a dream that fades before you fully wake. Some leave no mark at all. Others leave small trails, a shed disturbed, a field pressed down, a line in the grass that wasn't there before. And often, we only learn of them later. A photo, a witness, a sigh in the trees. But they are real. They are part of the atmosphere's quiet rhythm, a moment of tension released in a single graceful twirl. Meteorologists study these too. They track the patterns that give rise to brief spirals. They refine their models, looking for the subtle signals, the heartbeat before the dance. But the truth is, some spirals come simply to exist. Not to warn, not to stay, just to pass through, like a breeze caught in a dream. And so, tonight, we honor the ephemeral, the quiet spin that came and went, unseen perhaps, but never unloved by the sky. Close your eyes now, and imagine a field, still and golden, where the air shifts once, briefly, and then falls still again. A storm that lived a single sigh, and was gone. There are borders in the sky that don't appear on maps. No fences, no signs, just quiet boundaries drawn by air. One such boundary is the dry line, an invisible seam between moist air and dry. A place where two air masses meet and something begins to stir. Tonight, we float gently along this sky boundary, drifting where the air begins to change. Dry lines are most often found across wide, open plains, where moist air from the Gulf of Mexico meets dry air from the desert southwest. They don't collide like waves. They press together like slow-moving tectonic plates in the sky. To the west of the dry line, the air is dry and warm. Breezes whisper across sun-baked soil. To the east, the air is rich with moisture, soft, thick, and heavy with invisible water vapor. Where they meet, the contrast is sharp. But still, the line itself is silent. On the ground, you might feel it pass. A shift in the breeze, a change in how the air touches your skin, a sudden dryness in the breath, or a heaviness lifting, and above, the sky reacts. The moist air, lighter and more buoyant, begins to rise. The dry air presses down, firmer, denser. Together, they form a quiet tension. Meteorologists watch dry lines closely. They often serve as triggers, places where warm, moist air is lifted rapidly, helping clouds bloom into thunderstorms. It doesn't happen with a shout. It begins with a whisper, a subtle lifting, a tender unraveling of layers. And when the air is ready, when enough heat and moisture have gathered, the dry line acts like a match to kindling. Storms can ignite, sudden and tall, towering upward into the highest reaches of the sky. Sometimes a tornado may follow, but not always. Dry lines don't guarantee storms. They simply offer the invitation. Like a breeze across a still lake, they stir the surface and wait to see what rises. And then, as the sun sets, the dry line retreats or fades. Its power softens as temperatures drop, and the air begins to settle once more. It's gone without a trace, like a brushstroke in the wind. So tonight, we rest beside this quiet boundary, where the desert meets the sea in the air, and the atmosphere gently rearranges itself, just enough to begin again. Not everything in the wind is what it seems. Sometimes, what feels like a tornado is something else entirely. Tonight, we explore a soft confusion, the gentle puzzle of the microburst, a downward gust of air, sometimes mistaken for a twister's spiral. From the surface, both can surprise. A sudden rush of wind, branches swaying, objects tossed gently or with force. But while tornadoes spin upward, twisting from cloud to ground, microbursts fall. They descend, like a sigh from the sky. It begins high above, in a storm cloud heavy with rain and cooled air. The rain doesn't always reach the ground. Some of it evaporates along the way, cooling the air around it. This chilled air grows denser, heavier, and when it's heavy enough, it falls. Not with anger, but with purpose. A downward burst, a rush of cool air, spilling out from the cloud like water from an overturned bowl. When it reaches the ground, it spreads in all directions. A sudden gust that can flatten crops or shake trees, brief but powerful. From a distance, it might look like a small tornado. The wind swirls, dust lifts, leaves dance. But the motion is different. A tornado pulls inward and up. A microburst pushes outward and down. Radar can sometimes confuse the two, especially if the signal is weak or the event is small. Even trained observers may need time to tell them apart, because nature doesn't always explain itself. Sometimes it simply performs. Both tornadoes and microbursts can cause damage. Both can move quickly, then vanish, and both leave behind a trace, a moment when the air turned curious and strong. But a microburst is a falling breath, a brief downpour of wind, a sky-born ripple in the stillness. As you drift now, imagine standing in an open field, clouds overhead, full and silent. And then, a sudden cool wind, rushing past your cheeks, curling around your legs, and then, gone. Was it a twister, a downburst, or just the atmosphere stretching? Sometimes the answer is soft, and sometimes it doesn't matter. All we know is that the sky is full of wonder, and it speaks in more than one kind of wind. Not every spiral begins with thunder. Some tornadoes are born quietly, without towering, storms without the flashing sky, without the roar we often expect. They form beneath clouds that look soft and ordinary, low, wide, unbothered at first glance. And yet, something is turning. Tonight, we drift into these subtle beginnings, the places where tornadoes arrive not with drama, but with a hush. These are called non-supercell tornadoes, and though they are often smaller, they carry all the mystery of the atmosphere's quieter moods. Imagine a sky layered in shades of grey. No towering cumulonimbus, no jagged lightning, just flat-bottomed clouds stretching calmly across the horizon. Beneath them, the wind stirs gently, shifting directions, brushing through grass like fingers through thread. This is where the rotation begins, not high aloft, but near the surface. A boundary, perhaps a sea breeze, or the edge of an outflow from a distant storm, sweeps across the land. Winds meet and change direction. They curl, they eddy, they begin to spin, softly. And then, if the rising air catches this low-level rotation, if the lift is just enough, a quiet funnel begins to take shape. It might stay aloft, spinning gently without touching the ground. Or it may reach downward, a shy finger from cloud to earth. These are often called land spouts, named not for their fury, but for their form. They can be brief, delicate, ephemeral as a thought, but they are real, and they remind us that not all weather shouts. Some speaks in sighs. Meteorologists sometimes miss these tornadoes, not out of carelessness, but because the signals are small. Radar may not see them, the sky may not warn, a rotation might last only minutes, a funnel may spin for just a breath, and still, something in the air has shifted. These tornadoes often form where conditions are only just right, where warmth meets motion, and motion meets lift, all at the surface, all in silence. No supercell, no mesocyclone, just the atmosphere, writing a softer story. So tonight, as you rest, let your breath follow the wind. Picture a quiet field, a low sky, and a spiral forming gently from the calm. The world need not be loud to be powerful. Even the smallest spin can move the air around it. Sometimes the sky holds its breath. All the ingredients for a storm may be there. Warmth at the surface, moisture in the air, lift waiting in the wings. And yet, nothing happens. Why? Because of the cap. Tonight, we explore this gentle lid in the sky, a warm layer aloft, holding everything in place until it doesn't. The cap, or temperature inversion, is a layer of warmer air that sits above the cooler air near the surface. Normally, warm air rises, but when it meets even warmer air above, it's stopped, paused, held back. It's like a blanket over simmering tea, a softness that contains the steam. Beneath this warm lid, the atmosphere builds, the surface warms, moisture rises slowly and waits. The pressure grows, but there's no release, not yet. From the ground, the sky may appear peaceful. Maybe a few scattered clouds, some haze, the kind of day that feels suspended in time. But up above, the cap is doing its quiet work, stabilizing, holding, resisting. Meteorologists watch this closely, because when the cap is strong, storms cannot form. But when the cap breaks, the change is sudden, like a whispered note turning into a full chord. The warm lid gives way. Air rushes upward, released from its holding pattern. Clouds rise tall and fast. They blossom like flowers in fast forward. The sky, once still, becomes a stage for upward motion. This is called convective initiation, when the lid lifts and the day transforms. Sometimes storms blossom immediately. Sometimes even tornadoes may follow. But more often, it's simply the moment when everything waiting becomes everything becoming. And still, there is no violence in the cap itself. It is patient, it is gentle, a guardian of balance, until the balance tips. So, as you drift tonight, imagine lying beneath that invisible lid, the warmth above, the softness below. The air is holding its breath, and so are you. And then, when the time is right, everything exhales. Some tornadoes do not roar. They do not carve long paths through fields, or scatter debris across miles. Some come and go so quickly, you might miss them altogether. Tonight, we drift into the soft stories of those fleeting spirals, tornadoes that barely kiss the earth, then vanish. These are the tender ones, the briefest visitors, the kind that spin delicately, like a leaf caught in a swirl of wind. They form with all the grace of their larger kin, rising from quiet rotation, drawn down by just the right balance of warmth, lift and motion. And yet, they touch down only lightly, grazing the ground for seconds, then lifting again as if they were never there. You might see them in open fields, on quiet afternoons, a pale funnel dipping briefly, then disappearing into cloud. Some are never seen at all. They leave no scars, just a soft impression, a puff of dust, a startled breeze, a moment when the grass stirred in a circle. Meteorologists sometimes call them weak tornadoes, but that word, weak, doesn't quite fit, because even the gentlest wind carries power. Even a moment's rotation speaks of something vast. These tornadoes form in silence. They do not wait for full supercells or towering thunderheads. Sometimes they form beneath quiet storms, other times along boundaries, where winds shift direction or air lifts softly from the surface, finding a pocket of spin. They may be landspouts or small rope tornadoes, thin as thread, yet part of something so much larger. And because they are short-lived, they often go unrecorded. Radar may miss them, warnings may never sound, but their presence matters. They are part of the sky's natural rhythm, a brief release of built-up tension, a pirouette in the stillness. And though they touch the earth only lightly, they remind us. Not all power is loud. Not all stories are long. Some moments are enough, just as they are. So, as you lie back tonight, imagine one of these quiet spirals, forming gently above a meadow, spinning down like a ribbon uncoiling, touching the earth for a single breath, then rising again, dissolving into the clouds. Gone, but not forgotten. Before the siren's cry, before the radar scans turn red, before warnings flash across glowing screens. There is a moment, a small, sacred moment, when something in the sky begins to turn, and no one knows it yet. Tonight, we slow time, to rest inside that moment, to feel what the air feels when rotation begins quietly beneath the clouds. It might start low, at the surface, where two winds meet. One gusts from the south, warm and steady. Another slides in from the west, drier, cooler, more focused. They press together. They don't fight. They fold, turning the air between them into a slow spiral. It's not strong at first, just a gentle corkscrew spinning in place, unnoticed by all but the wind itself. And above, the cloud base begins to lower. A lowering, a slight bulge in the sky, soft and grey, with no sound. Meteorologists call this a mesocyclone, a rotation within the storm, gathering strength as it slowly leans toward the ground. But even that may not yet be seen. The spin begins so low, sometimes beneath radar's reach, sometimes before any scan can return. There is no warning yet, no alert, only the subtle choreography of the atmosphere beginning its quiet turn. Birds may fly differently, the leaves may spin in little eddies. The air itself grows still, as though listening. This is the moment before the sirens, a moment full of potential but without certainty. Will the funnel form? Will it touch down? Or will it fade, forgotten? Even the sky may not know yet. Meteorologists watch for signs, changes in wind velocity, the sudden drop in cloud base, small, subtle clues that spin has begun. But sometimes it's only later that we realize, yes, it had started. The atmosphere had turned, and for a few minutes we didn't yet know. And that's okay, because the air doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it whispers, and our task is to keep listening. So tonight, as you fall deeper into rest, let yourself drift into that moment, the space before the alarm, before the name, before the story takes shape. Let your breath move like that early spin, unhurried, circular, calm, because even before the sirens, the world is still listening, and so are we. Not all tornadoes begin in the sky. Some begin at the surface, where the earth breathes upward and the wind curls low across warm, open land. These are landspouts, tornadoes born from the ground up, unexpected, unannounced, like flowers blooming suddenly beneath a quiet sky. Tonight, we lie back and drift beside one, watching how it forms, not from swirling supercells, but from the soft choreography of surface. Winds. Imagine a warm day on the open plains. The ground, heated by sunlight, warms the air above it. That warm air begins to rise, slowly, like the lightest exhale. Nearby, boundaries form. A breeze shifts. An outflow boundary drifts by. Air begins to curl along the surface. This is the start of something unseen. A horizontal roll of wind, not fierce, not large, but present. And then, as the rising air from below meets that low-level swirl, it pulls the rotation upward, like thread being lifted into fabric. A narrow funnel begins to stretch, slender, pale, and twisting. It may not even be visible at first, perhaps just a shimmer in the dust, a thin thread of motion beneath a small, unassuming cloud. This is the landspout, a tornado, yes, but not born of a rotating thunderstorm. No mesocyclone above, no radar signature shouting its presence. Just surface winds, meeting rising air in a moment of delicate balance. They are usually brief, and often gentle, but not always. Some can grow strong enough to surprise, to topple fences, to scatter light debris, to remind us that the air holds mystery even in its quietest forms. Because landspouts form from the ground up, they can catch us unaware. They arrive before the sky darkens, before the storm fully matures, before we expect rotation to begin. But they are not frightening here, not in this quiet place. Here we study their shape as if watching petals open in slow motion. From a distance, they look like dust devils, but they are more organized, more purposeful, tied to growing cumulus clouds above. And when the conditions shift, when the rising air weakens, or the surface winds drift apart, the landspout fades. It unwinds, disappears, like a dancer bowing out of view. No sound, no trace, just the memory of a spiral that rose softly from the earth. Tonight, as you rest, imagine a calm sky, a single cloud, and the wind twirling softly in place. A bloom of motion, fragile, fleeting, and beautiful. The sky can seem still for a long time. A quiet storm may drift by, dropping soft rain, casting wide, harmless shadows. And then, without warning, something begins to turn. Tonight, we explore the mystery of sudden spin, how rotation can emerge from stillness, like a thought forming just behind closed eyes. It begins with a shift in the wind, not a strong gust, not a howling breeze, but a gentle change, a turning of direction, a difference in speed between layers of air. Meteorologists call this vorticity, the tendency for air to rotate. It may be present, but hidden, latent, waiting. Often, storms pass over these quiet pockets of vorticity, subtle curls in the atmosphere, like eddies in a stream. At first, they do nothing, but when the storm's lift becomes just strong enough, when an updraft tilts the rotation upright, suddenly the air begins to spin, faster, stronger, organizing itself into a column, and what was once invisible now begins to take form. Sometimes it's just a funnel aloft, spinning gently in place, never touching the ground. Other times, it dips, it lowers, and the tornado is born. There may have been no rotation minutes before, no radar clue, no visual cue, but now it's there, a spiral swirling where stillness once stood. This is what makes tornado forecasting so challenging, because the atmosphere can change quickly, quietly, and in places just beyond our reach. The vorticity was there, but hidden, and all it needed was one soft nudge to come alive. Even trained observers sometimes miss the moment. Even the best tools may be one scan too late, but that's the nature of the sky, fluid, graceful, full of quiet surprises. And so we listen, we watch, we learn the rhythm of the air, how stillness can give birth to motion, and tonight we rest in that wonder. Imagine a calm sky, a storm that passes without a word, and then a curl, a shift, a single breath of air beginning to spin. No alarm, no rush, just the sky deciding, for a moment, to move in circles. Darkness has a way of softening the world. The winds slow, the sky quiets, and the land slips into shadow. But sometimes, even in this hush, the sky begins to stir. Tonight, we drift into the world of night tornadoes, those quiet spirals born in the darkness, hidden from view and wrapped in silence. During the day, we can see the signs, towering clouds, darkening skies, the graceful drop of a funnel from above. But at night, those signs vanish into the black. Storms don't rest just because the sun sets. In fact, under certain conditions, nighttime can help storms linger longer, and sometimes even grow stronger. This is especially true in regions where the air stays warm and moist after sundown, where the ground still radiates heat upward, feeding the atmosphere quietly from below. At night, cool air sometimes slips in aloft, creating a cap that holds warmth and moisture near the surface. But when that cap breaks, it can do so suddenly. Storms bloom in the dark, and within them, tornadoes may form. But we cannot see them. There is no silhouette against the sky, no clear shape to follow with the eye. Even lightning may not reveal them, only flickering outlines, momentary hints of something turning. Radar too has its limits, especially in rural areas where radar beams scan high above the ground. A tornado forming low may remain out of reach, and so detection becomes harder. Warnings arrive later, sometimes not at all. Not from negligence, but from the quiet way the night conceals. It's why nighttime tornadoes are often more dangerous, not because they are stronger, but because we're less likely to see them coming. We are asleep, the world is dim, and the wind moves through shadows. But even in the dark, meteorologists remain awake. Radars scan, sensors watch, forecasters listen to the rhythm of the air, searching for patterns in silence. Spotters too, trained observers who brave the storms, help fill in what eyes cannot see. They feel the change in wind, the sudden stillness, the shift in pressure before the spin begins. And still, the atmosphere holds some secrets, not out of malice, but mystery. Tonight, as you rest, imagine a quiet field under a moonless sky. The air is still. The sky is black velvet above. And somewhere above the sleeping land, a soft spiral begins to turn. No noise, no light, just motion in the dark, like a thought forming gently in the quiet of the mind. Look up at a mature thunderstorm, and you may see something majestic, a wide, flat canopy spreading across the sky. This is the anvil, the elegant top of a storm that has reached the ceiling of the troposphere, spreading outward like the brim of a vast silver hat. It's a breathtaking sight, and easy to admire from afar. But beneath this smooth, outstretched top, something quiet may be forming. Tonight, we drift beneath the anvil's edge, into the soft shadows where rotation sometimes begins. The anvil forms when powerful updrafts rise quickly, reaching the upper atmosphere where the air is too stable to go higher. There, the cloud flattens, spilling outward in all directions, like ink across parchment. This upper canopy reflects sunlight during the day, casting long, gentle shadows across the land. But below, beneath the trailing edge of that anvil, things may not be as calm as they appear. In this region, often just ahead of or beside the main storm, the atmosphere is layered, complex, and full of subtle shifts. Cool air descends from the core of the storm, spreading outward at the surface. Warm air continues to rise ahead of it. Where they meet, the boundary can sharpen. Wind changes direction. A small curl forms. This is where rotation can begin, softly, steadily, in a place many might overlook. The clouds here can look calm, smooth and pale against the fading light. But underneath, the air may be preparing for something more. Meteorologists call this region the forward flank, just ahead of the rain, where warm, moist air feeds the storm's hunger. It's here, under the anvil's edge, that rotation may tighten, a funnel may dip, and a tornado may begin. But from a distance, all you may see is the beauty above. The wide crown of the storm, lit by the sun, stretched like silk across the sky. That's the wonder of meteorology. The beauty above often hides the complexity beneath. So we study, we watch, we ask questions of the clouds, even when they look peaceful. And tonight, as you settle beneath your own ceiling, imagine the great anvil above, silent, glowing, and the quiet choreography taking place below. Not every danger is loud. Not every mystery is visible, but every part of the sky, from its highest edge to its quietest base, is always in motion, always becoming. High above us, a quiet guardian spins. Radar, always listening, always scanning the sky with invisible beams of energy, circling round and round, night and day. But even this gentle watcher has its limits. Tonight, we drift into the spaces where Doppler can't see. The folds of the atmosphere that lie beneath the beam, out of sight, but never out of wonder. Doppler radar is one of meteorology's most faithful tools. It sends out pulses of energy, soft echoes that bounce off raindrops, hail, and swirling wind. When those echoes return, they paint a picture of motion in the air. But radar doesn't scan in straight lines from the ground. It tilts upward, slicing the sky in wide, gentle arcs. As those beams travel farther, they curve upward too, lifting higher and higher away from the surface. Because the Earth, after all, is round. And so, the farther from the radar you are, the higher in the atmosphere it's looking. That means that near the ground, especially far from a radar site, there are places it simply can't reach. Blind spots, meteorologists call them. Not dark, just out of view. In these low-level spaces, a tornado can quietly begin, turning close to the Earth, spinning under a layer of cloud or rain, unseen by radar's upward glance. It might last only minutes. It might touch down and lift before a new scan arrives. Or it might remain small, low, and wrapped in other weather, too gentle for a distant echo to detect. Radar is a marvel, but it was never meant to see everything. Its strength is in patterns, in motion high above, in signs that suggest, but cannot always confirm. Meteorologists know this. They watch closely, filling in the blanks with other tools, surface observations, spotter reports, satellite images, even the feel of the wind on the skin. But sometimes, even with all our listening, a spiral turns in silence. And yet, that's not failure. It's the sky reminding us there is always more to learn. So tonight, we rest in that knowing, that even when we cannot see, something may still be moving. Let your breath settle into slow circles. Let your thoughts follow the arcs of radar, beams, sweeping gently above a sleeping world. And beneath it all, the earth turns, the air turns, and stillness and spin move together in quiet harmony. We often imagine storms announcing themselves with towering clouds, crackling thunder, a rising wind that calls out ahead of danger. But some spirals do not speak. Some tornadoes arrive with no introduction, no sirens, no time. Tonight, we linger at the edge of that mystery, exploring the soft truth of spin without warning. The atmosphere doesn't always follow a schedule. It doesn't rush. It doesn't pause. It simply shifts, moment by moment, until the pieces align. Sometimes, the air is already unstable. Moisture hums in place. Winds change direction in the layers above, and all it takes is a gentle lift. A boundary passes. A pulse of heat rises from sun-warmed soil, and suddenly the spin begins. Radar may not catch it in time. The first signs of rotation may be too shallow, too low to reflect clearly. A funnel stretches down, almost hesitantly, and by the time it's seen, it's already there. This is nowcasting, the art of watching storms in the moment, responding as soon as signs appear. But even so, there are times when a warning arrives too late, and not because no one was watching, but because nature moves in its own rhythm, one that is beautiful and unpredictable, and still being learned. These tornadoes remind us of humility, that even with technology and training, the sky will always have surprises. So, meteorologists stay curious. They study past storms, refine their models, look for clues in places we didn't know to look. Every missed moment becomes a lesson. Every silent spiral leaves behind something to understand. And still, most storms are seen. Most warnings arrive in time, but for those few that do not, we meet them with wonder, not fear, because even the sudden has a story. Even the unexpected carries its own quiet pattern. So tonight, let go of needing to know all things. Let the uncertainty feel gentle, like fog lifting from a field, revealing only what's ready to be seen. Rest on the edge of mystery, where the air may turn, but where you are still and safe and drifting into sleep. The sky doesn't shape the earth alone. The earth shapes the sky too. Mountains, valleys, forests, fields, all rise from the surface like soft hands, guiding the wind above. Tonight, we drift along the textured surface of the earth and listen to how terrain turns the air in ways both subtle and surprising. Wind rarely travels in a straight line. It curves, it folds, it listens to what's beneath it. When it moves across smooth land like open plains, it flows freely, long and low. Rotation has room to grow. But when wind meets hills, it lifts, tumbles, and rolls. A mountain doesn't just block the wind, it bends it. Air must climb the slope, cooling as it rises, then rush down the other side, faster, tighter, compressed. This is called orographic influence, where land and air dance together, slow and precise. And in valleys, the story changes again. Cool air settles low, warm air floats just above. At night, breezes curl and drift along canyon walls, turning even the gentlest gust into a guided whisper. These shifts may seem small, but they matter. A thunderstorm forming above a ridgeline may tilt unexpectedly, nudged by the terrain. A funnel that might never have formed suddenly finds the support it needs. Lift from a slope, spin from a wind shift, space to reach toward the ground. Even forests shape the story. Tall trees slow the wind at the surface. Fields, on the other hand, let it rush. A boundary between forest and farmland can become a place of difference, where winds meet and begin to curl. Meteorologists study these local effects carefully. They know that terrain creates microclimates, small, special pockets of behavior that defy the broader map. In some places, tornadoes form more often, not because of the sky, but because of what's beneath it. The earth writes its influence in quiet ways, and the air responds. So, as you lie still tonight, imagine the land beneath your body, the gentle curve of hills, the long sweep of valley, the steady hush of open grass, and above that, a breeze begins to move, changing with every rise and dip of the ground. It listens to the terrain, just as we listen to the wind. And in that quiet conversation, a storm may begin. Some say a tornado sounds like a train, a low, rushing roar, steady and unrelenting. But long before that, before the sound becomes something loud or known, there is something else: silence. Tonight, we rest inside that space, the hush that comes before the sound. Before a tornado is heard, there is a pause. It's not the stillness of peace, but a different kind of quiet, the kind that feels like the world is holding its breath. Birdsong may stop. The wind, once rustling, goes soft. Even the trees seem to lean in, listening. This moment is more than myth. Meteorologists and storm observers often speak of it. A calm before the motion, a gentle vacuum as pressure shifts and the sky prepares. It's the lull between movements, like the breath between notes in a lullaby. This silence isn't always long. Sometimes it's just a few seconds. Sometimes it lingers, long enough to notice, long enough to wonder. The cause lies in the storm's structure. As warm, moist air rises and spins, it draws air inward at the surface. This pull creates a vacuum-like effect, and the wind drops suddenly. Then, a low rumble begins. Not sharp, not startling, just the earliest suggestion of movement. But before that, it's the hush that people remember most. The way everything feels paused, the world briefly wrapped in stillness. This is the sound before the sound. And like so much in meteorology, it's not always visible, not always measurable, but it's there, whispered between layers of wind, woven into the rhythm of the sky. And so, tonight, as you settle deeper, listen for the hush in your own world, that space between breaths, between thoughts, between waking and sleep. Let that quiet cradle you. Let it stretch long and gentle, a pause before dreams unfold. Because sometimes the most powerful moments aren't the ones that arrive with sound, but the ones that arrive in silence. Somewhere in the sky, an invisible line is drawn, not marked in color, not traced in cloud, but present all the same. It is the place where calm meets motion, where stillness gives way to a gentle shift, where the wind, so quiet on one side, begins to curl on the other. Tonight, we walk slowly along that edge, the boundary between calm and chaos. In meteorology, this is known as a boundary layer, a meeting place between different air masses. Warm and cold, moist and dry, fast and slow. These air masses don't fight. They don't clash with noise. They brush past each other, layered like pages in a book. And the story begins where they meet. Some boundaries are cold fronts, where colder air gently slides beneath warmer air, lifting it into the sky. Others are dry lines, where moist air touches dry, and the imbalance stirs the breeze. And some are remnants of older storms, called outflow boundaries. Soft, shifting winds left behind like footprints in the atmosphere. Along these lines, the air can turn, not always, not quickly, but when the lift is just right and the air unstable, rotation can begin. A funnel may follow, forming delicately at first, hidden in the folds of cloud or haze. From the ground, the boundary may not be visible. The sky might appear gentle, a stretch of quiet grey. But beneath that quiet, the atmosphere is whispering, shifting, arranging, and always in motion. Meteorologists watch these boundaries closely, not because they bring chaos, but because they carry change. And not all change is loud. Some comes with a breeze, a soft shift in temperature, a scent in the air that says something is beginning. So tonight, as you lie still, imagine walking beside one of these boundaries. The air to your left is cool, to your right, warm, and somewhere between your steps, the wind begins to turn. A place of transition, of balance, of becoming. It is not a line to fear, but one to respect, because it holds the gentle moment where calm releases its grip, and motion quietly takes hold. High above the earth, small clouds drift like thoughts, soft, slow, and scattered. These are cumulus clouds, the sky's gentle beginnings. Not storms, not thunder, just quiet observers of the day. But sometimes, beneath their shadows, something begins to turn. Tonight, we rest beneath their cottony shapes, watching how spin can hide in places we least expect. Cumulus clouds often form when the ground warms gently. Heat rises, lifting moist air upward. That air cools as it climbs, and tiny droplets condense into the clouds we see. They bubble and breathe, rising and falling like a slow tide in the sky. Most cumulus clouds spend their lives in peace, quiet puffs that drift and fade. But occasionally, a few grow taller, stronger, more curious. And beneath them, in the space just above the Earth, the air may begin to curl. These early signs of rotation aren't always visible. They may swirl low near the surface, shaped by boundaries left behind by older winds. A cumulus cloud, innocent in appearance, may sit above a shallow spin, waiting, watching. If the conditions deepen, if warmth continues to rise, if the spin catches that upward motion, then a storm may build. But for now, there is only suggestion, a slow movement, a pause in the air. Meteorologists sometimes detect this early spin with radar, but often it's too gentle, too subtle. It is the kind of motion that requires stillness to notice, the kind you feel in your bones more than you see with your eyes. We call this mesoscale rotation, a broad, soft turning that may later become something more, or may simply fade, like a breath released. So tonight, look up in your mind's sky. See those small clouds, dusted across blue like powdered sugar. Feel their shadows stretch across quiet fields, and know that even here, in the humblest of clouds, the sky holds the potential for wonder. Not all beginnings are grand. Some drift quietly. Some spin softly beneath clouds that most never notice. But you are noticing, and the sky is glad you did. Not all tornadoes carve a path. Not all leave behind broken branches or scattered debris. Some arrive gently, spin briefly, and vanish without a scar. Tonight, we rest beside those quiet spirals, the ones that touch the earth like whispers, and then are gone. Tornadoes, as we often imagine them, are loud and large, leaving behind clear signs of where they've been. But not every spiral follows that story. Some are brief, some are soft, so delicate, they leave no more trace than a breeze through tall grass. These are the tornadoes that form low, small in size, light in strength, their contact with the ground more like a kiss than a strike. They may be landspouts, tornadoes born from surface spin rather than high storm rotation, or rope tornadoes, thin and wispy, twisting for just a moment before unraveling. And when they pass over open fields or wide stretches of untouched land, they may leave behind nothing visible at all. No toppled fences, no shifted soil, just air that turned, then calmed. These tornadoes are real, even if they go unnoticed. Some are captured by chance, on a camera, by a lone traveler, or a watchful meteorologist in the right place at the right time. Others are only suspected. The wind behaves strangely. Grass bends in a circle, leaves lift upward for a second too long. But no harm follows. No damage confirms their passing. And so, they become part of the atmosphere's quieter stories. A moment of release, of balance, of motion that needed to happen but did not need to linger. Meteorologists sometimes learn about these spirals only later, through eyewitness accounts or subtle patterns in the grass seen from above. But there is no failure in not seeing them sooner, because these tornadoes don't demand to be seen. They arrive softly, and they leave the same way. They remind us that the atmosphere is filled with motion, even when the world appears still. So, as you rest tonight, picture one of these gentle spirals, forming briefly beneath a quiet cloud, twisting once or twice across a sleeping field, then lifting without a trace. No sound, no scar, just a whisper in the wind. Long before radar, long before sirens, long before weather maps coloured in swirls of red and green. there were instincts. Tonight, we listen with quiet attention to the animals who sometimes sense the storm before we do. There are countless stories: dogs pacing, birds flying low, cattle gathering in corners of fields, even insects falling still. These creatures, each attuned to the world in ways we can't fully measure, seem to notice something in the air. Perhaps it's the pressure. Tornadoes are born from low-pressure systems, and animals may feel the drop in their bodies, in their bones. Or perhaps it's the vibration, the subsonic rumble, too low for human ears, but clear in the sensitive hearing of deer, of foxes, of horses. Maybe it's the scent, the way ozone rises, or moisture thickens the air, or the change in the wind, its sudden stillness, or the way it swirls just before the funnel begins. We can't say for sure, but we've learned to listen, because sometimes animals move before the storm does, and their motion is not random. Birds vanish from feeders, bees return early to hives, cats go silent, and cows lie down in strange places. It's not fear necessarily, it's awareness. A quiet kind of knowing that doesn't speak in words, but in direction, in stillness, in sudden motion. And in time, we've come to see these moments as more than coincidence. Because when the sky begins to shift, so does everything beneath it. Some animals flee, others shelter. All, in some way, respond. Meteorologists have studied these signals, the body language of the natural world, and while not every instinct becomes a warning, some have helped. In places without radar, on nights without light, the animals are sometimes the first to know. They remind us that we too are part of this world, not separate from the wind, but shaped by it. And while we may use tools and technology, there is still room to feel, to sense, to listen. So tonight, breathe softly. Imagine the birds in their nests, the rabbits tucked in the grass, the quiet cattle in a distant field. All still, all listening, and you too are listening, to the air, to the earth, to the instinct that says, something is coming, and I am ready. Not with fear, but with calm, with attention, and with deep respect for the stories the wind tells, even in silence. Some warnings arrive with time to spare. A spiral forms, radar catches it, and a message is sent before the wind even reaches the ground. But not all storms move slowly. Not all rotation follows the rules. Tonight, we slow time to observe the flash alert, those rare warnings that come just moments before a tornado touches down. When storms develop rapidly, or when rotation hides beneath the radar's reach, forecasters have only seconds to detect, decide, and deliver. A funnel may already be forming by the time it's noticed. Rotation tightens quickly, air gathers itself into a downward twist, and suddenly it's no longer forming. It's here. Radar beams sweep the sky in intervals. They complete a full scan every few minutes. But a tornado can be born in less than one. This is why meteorologists must make decisions quickly, like ocean watchers reading the swell of an unexpected wave. They look for velocity couplets, the pairing of inbound and outbound winds that show something beginning to turn. They read between scans, between frames, between breaths of the storm, and when they're certain, or even almost certain, they issue the alert. Sometimes the warning comes with time, but sometimes it arrives just before, or just as, the spiral touches the ground. These are the flash alerts, born not of delay, but of the storm's speed. The air gives little notice. The spiral unfolds quickly, and the message must rise even faster. It's not a flaw in the system, it's the atmosphere speaking in sudden notes. A shift too quick to measure until it's already in motion. But every warning matters. Even a minute or two can mean everything. And so, meteorologists stand ready, eyes on every flicker of spin, ears attuned to the quiet urgency of the wind. They do not wait for certainty. They act when they must. And in doing so, they move with the storm. Tonight, imagine time stretching, the moment just before the alert, the signal rising, the spiral touching down. Even in haste, there is care. Even in suddenness, there is watchfulness. And in every flash alert, there is someone listening always. Some tornadoes move like dancers, not in a straight line, not steadily or smoothly, but in steps. They touch the earth, then lift, float forward in the air, and return again, leaving a trail like footprints that appear, vanish, and reappear farther on. Tonight, we follow these gentle wanderers, the skipping tornadoes. Not all spirals stay grounded. Sometimes they form, descend, touch down, and lift again, still spinning, but aloft. They drift forward, held together by the storm above, until the rotation tightens again, and the funnel reaches downward once more. This pattern can happen several times: a touch, a pause, a return. From the sky, the damage path may look broken. Patches of calm between areas where trees bend, fences fall, or grasses lie flat. But it's all the same storm, the same spiral, just dancing. The reasons vary. Sometimes surface conditions shift, a change in terrain, a rise in temperature, a lull in lift. Other times, the storm tilts briefly, or loses the balance that kept its spin grounded. But the funnel remains, spinning above, waiting to reconnect. Meteorologists call this intermittent contact, and it's part of what makes tornado tracking so delicate. Because the tornado isn't gone, just lifted, still rotating, still dangerous, still listening for the moment to return. To observers, the storm may seem to weaken, only to reappear a mile or two away. To radar, it may look like brief breaks in velocity signatures, but the circulation never truly ends. It moves, pauses, continues. A skipping spiral, a dancer tracing their steps across the open land. And when the dance is over, the damage tells the story. Broken pieces of a line that reveal a whole. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, picture one of these spirals above a quiet field. It dips, then lifts, twirling gently across the sky. You might lose sight of it for a moment, but then it's there again, soft as a ribbon in the wind. Even the sky knows how to move with grace, appearing, disappearing, and returning in time. In the sky above us, air flows in silent rivers, some fast, some slow, some moving north, others to the east. And where those winds pass through each other, something begins to change. Tonight, we drift upward, layer by layer, to feel the gentle pull of wind shear, the quiet difference in speed and direction that sets the stage for a storm to spin. Wind shear doesn't shout. It doesn't stir leaves or rustle trees. It lives higher than we can reach, moving in soft, invisible sheets of motion. At the surface, the air may drift gently to the south, a breeze you barely notice, but a mile above, it races eastward, stronger, faster, cooler. This difference, this graceful shift between layers, creates rotation. Not the kind that forms a tornado on its own, but the kind that tilts the atmosphere like a spiral waiting to be lifted. Meteorologists call this directional shear when the wind changes path, and speed shear when it increases with height. Either one can stretch and roll the air, creating invisible tubes of rotation, like barrels slowly turning in place. And when a strong updraft rises through this rolling air. It can tilt the rotation upright, like lifting a spinning coin from its side to its edge. This is how a storm begins to turn. Not suddenly, not noisily, but through the layered whispers of wind. Supercell thunderstorms, the kind most likely to produce tornadoes, often form when wind shear is just right. Enough change to invite rotation, but still balanced, so the storm can sustain its motion. Too little shear, and the storm stays soft. Too much, and it may tear itself apart. It's a quiet equation, one the sky writes in movement, not math. And even when no tornado forms, wind shear can sculpt the clouds, tilting their tops, shaping long anvils, creating those elegant hooks and arcs we sometimes see on radar. Tonight, you might imagine yourself floating through these layers, the breeze brushing your skin, cooler as you rise. Feel the shift, the soft turn in the atmosphere, the invisible threads of motion woven like silk across the sky. The whisper of wind shear is always there, guiding storms, inviting spin, but never speaking too loudly. And like most quiet forces in nature, it leaves a mark, without making a sound. When meteorologists study radar, they look for signals hidden in color and motion, patterns that speak of shape, speed, and spin. One of the clearest signs of a tornado is something called the hook echo, a curved shape, looping off the side of a thunderstorm on radar. It tells us where rain is wrapping around rotation, where a spiral may be forming. But not every tornado shows a hook, and not every hook is easy to see. Tonight, we listen for what hides behind the echo. The hook echo forms when rain bands wrap around the storm's center, curving like an arm drawing inward. It often appears on the southwest edge of a supercell, where warm air is feeding in from the side and cold air is wrapping around. It's called a hook because it curves, graceful and sharp, almost like the tail of a question mark. When visible, it's a sign to pay close attention. Rotation is likely. A funnel may be forming, or already there. But some tornadoes don't show a hook at all. In high precipitation storms, rain can blur the signature. So much moisture that the radar beam can't distinguish rotation from rainfall. Sometimes, the tornado forms too close to the ground, or beneath the lowest radar beam. Other times, the spiral is narrow, or wrapped in other echoes, blending into the background. These are the storms that hide, and the hook remains unseen. Meteorologists know this. They've learned to look beyond just shapes. They study velocity data, watching how winds move toward and away from the radar. They listen to storm spotters on the ground. They watch the atmosphere as if reading a book with missing pages. Because the absence of a hook doesn't mean the absence of danger. It only means the signature is hidden. And even when the radar shows nothing, the sky may still be writing. So tonight, let's drift into that quiet knowing that sometimes what matters most isn't what we can see, but what we feel. Imagine looking at a storm from far away. The radar shows only color, but you know there's more behind it. A story forming behind the curtain, a spiral concealed in rain, a motion that does not need to be seen to be real. The unseen hook, always possible, always present in the folds of cloud and wind. And as you close your eyes, you can let go of needing every answer. You can trust in the listening, in the watching, and in the quiet skill of those who read the echoes behind the echo. We often think tornadoes need towering storms, thunder, lightning, blackened skies. But sometimes a spiral appears beneath a sky that feels almost still. No thunder, no hail, just warm air, light winds, and something unexpected beginning to turn. Tonight, we drift into these strange, quiet spirals, winds that twist without storms. These tornadoes don't rise from supercells. They don't need massive updrafts or mesocyclones high above. Instead, they begin low, at the surface, where small winds meet. It might be a hot afternoon, with the sun warming the open land. A dry boundary drifts across a field. An old outflow lingers from a storm long gone. Here, winds from different directions brush against each other, shifting, curling, starting a slow, invisible roll. And then, a column of warm, moist air rises gently, lifting that surface spin like a ribbon caught in an upward breeze. A funnel begins to stretch downward, pale and thin, barely there. These are often called landspouts, but they can take many forms. Some are rope-like, some barely visible. Some twist through the dust or dance across quiet plains with no sound at all. To a passerby, it may look like a dust devil, a playful swirl, but it is more organized, more focused, and for a few seconds, or a few minutes, it is a tornado. No sirens, no thunder, just a sudden twirl beneath a sky that never darkened. These moments remind us that the atmosphere is always moving, even when it seems still. Rotation does not always require a storm. Sometimes it only needs contrast, a soft meeting between winds, a lift of warm air, and just the right pause in time. And then, just as quietly, the spiral ends, the boundary shifts, the rising air cools, and the wind returns to its gentle drift. No trace remains, no mark on the land, just the memory of air that turned without thunder. So as you drift tonight, imagine standing in a quiet field. The sky is soft, the breeze is light, and suddenly the air begins to spin. You don't hear it, you barely feel it, but there it is, a twist, born in silence, a spiral that came to be without a storm. Most tornadoes are born within powerful clusters, storms that tower and connect across the sky, but sometimes it's just one small cloud, one quiet beginning. Tonight, we float with a solitary cell, a lone cloud with a story of its own. It might start as a single cumulus puff, rising from a warm patch of land in the late afternoon. The air there is just right, moist enough, unstable enough, ready to lift. As the cloud grows, it begins to breathe, rising, falling, expanding slowly upward like a thought becoming clear. It's not part of a storm system, it's alone. No towering anvils, no sweeping fronts, just one. And in that aloneness, something special can happen. The storm finds its own space. No competition, no crowding. Its updraft is clean, undisturbed. And sometimes, in this quiet environment, the cloud begins to rotate. A boundary nearby may add a touch of shear, a gentle twist in the wind. Or rising air may stretch a hidden pocket of rotation until it reaches toward the ground. From this soft swirl, a funnel may form, narrow, hesitant, graceful. It doesn't always last long, but it's real, a spiral born from a cloud that stood alone. Meteorologists watch these small cells closely, because while most tornadoes come from organized systems, some of the most surprising ones, the ones that form without notice, come from storms that no one expected to grow. They are quiet initiators, modest beginnings, and sometimes remarkable outcomes. Even radar may miss them at first. Their footprint is small, their growth slow. But for those watching the sky, there is beauty in their solitude. No other clouds competing for the light, no distant thunder, just one cloud, rising, turning, and for a moment, spinning. Tonight, imagine that cloud above you, gentle, unassuming, floating alone in the blue. and beneath it, a breeze begins to curl. The spiral forms. No noise, no drama, just the quiet decision of the atmosphere to move in circles. A tornado, from one solitary cell. Proof that even a single breath of sky can carry the power to turn. It looks like the storm is done. The clouds begin to soften. The towering columns of vapor that once reached high into the sky begin to sag and fall. The storm is collapsing. But sometimes, just as the sky relaxes, something stirs again. Tonight, we rest inside that quiet moment when a storm seems to be ending, but instead, it begins again. High in the atmosphere, storm clouds breathe, rising when warm air feeds them, and falling when that energy runs out. When the updraft weakens, when the rising air slows, the cloud begins to collapse. Its edges blur, its center falls. The rain descends with more speed, pulling cooler air down in its wake. This downward rush of cooled air is called a downdraft, and as it reaches the ground, it spreads out. A soft gust in all directions, like the sigh of a storm letting go. But this outflow isn't just a farewell. It can become a spark. As that cool air fans out along the ground, it meets warmer air nearby. And that contrast, cool sinking air brushing against warm rising air, can lift the warmth again. Like breath into embers, the storm finds fuel. A new tower begins to form, just downwind from the first. A second cloud rises, taller, cleaner, hungrier. And if rotation is nearby, if a soft swirl is hiding at the surface, this new energy may be enough to pull it upward. Sometimes, a tornado forms not during the storm's height, but in its rebirth. Meteorologists call this storm redevelopment. It happens quietly. The first storm collapses, and the second rises in its shadow. This is why storm watchers don't always rest when the sky begins to clear. Because sometimes, the moment of collapse is the moment of surprise. So, as you drift tonight, imagine a tall cloud folding slowly downward, like a curtain being drawn. The air cools, the winds spread, and then, in that open space, a new cloud begins to rise. The story didn't end, it simply turned the page. The storm has passed, the sky begins to brighten. Rain eases, thunder fades, and behind the supercell, the world begins to exhale. But sometimes, a surprise remains. Tonight, we wander along the trailing edge, the peaceful path behind the storm where quiet spin may still begin. Supercells are beautifully organized storms, balanced, rotating, and built to last. They carry strong updrafts and downbursts, sculpting the atmosphere as they move. As they pass, they leave behind something subtle, a reshaped landscape of air. Cool downdrafts pour from the storm's core, spreading out across the surface, changing wind direction and temperature in their wake. And nearby, the air begins to reorganize. Sometimes, just behind the supercell, a new boundary forms, a soft edge where cool outflow meets lingering warmth. And if that warmth lifts, and a little rotation is already hiding nearby, a pouwadas, new tornado can form, not in the heart of the storm, but in its trail, a place that feels quieter, safer, finished. But the atmosphere is still moving, still responding. These rear flank tornadoes can form with little warning. The parent storm has moved on. The sky seems calm, and yet, the air remembers. It carries with it the energy of what came before, and sometimes it writes a final sentence after the page is turned. Meteorologists study this carefully. They've learned to track the shape of outflow boundaries, to notice when spin lingers behind the main core, because even in peace, the potential remains. So tonight, Imagine walking across a field after the storm has passed. The clouds above are higher now. The wind is light. But just along the horizon, something curls. A soft spiral, quietly forming behind what once was. The wake of a supercell is not empty. It is full of quiet stories still unfolding. Not every storm makes itself known. Some do not flash or rumble. They do not crackle with urgency. They drift, quietly, with a calm that feels almost gentle. And yet, deep inside, they turn. Tonight, we explore the calm core of certain supercells, storms that hum with hidden power, disguised beneath a veil of stillness. Supercells are the most organized of thunderstorms. They spin as they move, carrying with them a subtle internal dance, an elegant circulation called a mesocyclone. Sometimes that spin announces itself. Dark clouds swirl, funnel shapes dip, the wind shifts suddenly, but not always. Some supercells keep their rotation deep inside, not visible from the outside, not loud, not obvious. They glide along the sky like silent ships, their cores calm, their motion smooth. To someone watching from the ground, it may look like an ordinary storm, a soft grey canopy, light rain, perhaps only a distant roll of thunder. But high within the structure, the air is turning, gracefully, patiently. Meteorologists study these storms with care, because rotation without noise can be the most difficult to detect, and sometimes the most surprising. Radar reveals the motion, not always through shape, but through the shifting winds inside. One part of the storm moves toward the beam, another away. A couplet appears, a signature of quiet rotation. And while not every calm core supercell produces a tornado, some do. Without warning, without drama, a funnel may form beneath a smooth base, thin, soft, almost delicate, and yet real. These are the storms that remind us that power does not always roar, that movement can be quiet, that turning can be peaceful. So tonight, as you rest, imagine floating alongside one of these storms. The sky is layered in grey, the world is hushed, and deep inside, the atmosphere is writing gentle spirals, not to frighten, not to warn, just to move, as it always has. The calm core spins, and the world continues to breathe. Some storms take their time. They build for hours, stretching high into the sky like ancient towers, and some arrive in a rush. They rise, bloom, collapse, all in the span of a few quiet moments. These are pulse storms, short-lived, sharp, and sometimes surprising. Tonight, we feel the heartbeat of these fleeting giants. Pulse storms begin with sudden lift. The air near the ground warms quickly, moisture builds, and a pocket of rising air begins its climb. There may be no front, no large weather system, just the sun, the land, and a gentle imbalance. But that's enough. The cloud forms rapidly. A cumulus grows into a towering cumulus, then into a small thunderstorm, its top punching into the upper atmosphere like a wave cresting on the ocean. The updraft is strong, brief, but focused. Rain begins to fall, the core cools, and the storm begins to collapse. In that collapse, the downdraft surges outward, cool air rushing to the ground, spreading in all directions. And sometimes, that outflow triggers a surprise. It meets warmer air nearby. It lifts it. It spins it. And for a moment, just one, a tornado may form. Pulse storms are usually small. They often last less than an hour. But in that hour, the energy rises and falls like a heartbeat. A single beat, a breath of sky. Meteorologists watch these with quiet focus. Because they don't show long development. They don't arrive with warnings. They're here, and then they're gone. a flicker, a pulse, and just as quickly, the sky returns to stillness. These storms remind us of the atmosphere's suddenness, how quickly balance can shift, how even small motions can carry weight. So, as you drift tonight, listen for the rhythm, feel the rise, the soft bloom of cloud, the fall, one breath, one moment, one pulse, and then rest. The sky is quiet again. Not all tornadoes come from mighty supercells, those great spiraling towers in the sky. Some are born from something less organized, more chaotic in shape, but still filled with quiet purpose. Tonight, we float beside a line of storms, an squall line, fractured and racing, and we listen for the moments when symmetry breaks and spin begins. A squall line looks like a sweeping front of storms, long, narrow, fast-moving. It stretches across the horizon like a brushstroke of motion. Wind gusts ahead of it, rain falls behind, but sometimes that line fractures. It bends, it bows, and at the edges of those bends, where one storm cell pushes ahead and another lags behind, a gap opens. In those broken seams, air rushes to fill the space, and as it does, it begins to curl. These are called QLCS tornadoes, short for quasi-linear convective system, a complicated name for a simple truth. Tornadoes can form from broken patterns, from lines that twist ever so slightly. They tend to be brief and small, and often rain-wrapped, hiding inside the curtain of falling water. But their rotation is real, focused, unexpected. To the eye, the line may seem too messy for order, but the atmosphere finds balance in even the most jagged shapes, and when just enough wind shear is present, a difference in direction or speed, the rotation can tighten. A quick vortex forms, touches down, and may lift again within minutes. Meteorologists track squall lines carefully, not just for their wind and lightning, but for the subtle signals along their edges. They look for bookend vortices, swirls that form where the line curls inward. They trace bowing segments, looking for the sweet spot where air converges. Because even in a storm that seems scattered and loud, something organized may begin to turn. So tonight, as you rest, imagine a line of clouds stretched across the sky. One piece nudges forward, another pulls behind, and in the space between, a spiral forms. Not large, not long-lived, but enough. Tornadoes from fractured lines, born in the bends, spinning quietly between the rush and the rain. It began without fanfare. No flashing radar, no sirens in the wind, no towering clouds looming dark. Just a small cloud drifting over a quiet field, the kind of sky you wouldn't give a second glance. And yet, something spun. Tonight, we settle into the soft memory of a tornado that almost no one saw, but that left behind a gentle story of motion. The day was warm, still, ordinary. There were storms nearby, but nothing fierce. No warnings had been issued, no alerts blinking on screens. And then, a flicker of dust, a faint funnel reaching downward, almost shyly. It touched the ground briefly, moved a few hundred yards, then vanished again into the folds of calm air. It left no damage. It passed over a meadow, a stretch of gravel, and then it was gone. Later, someone reported it. A farmer, maybe, or a lone driver on a country road. No fear in their voice, just wonder. They had seen the wind turn in a way it didn't usually turn. Meteorologists reviewed the scans. They found only the faintest traces, barely a mark in the radar, a soft suggestion of spin. But it was real, confirmed. A tornado, quiet as a sigh. We sometimes called these EF0 tornadoes the weakest rating on the scale. winds barely strong enough to topple a fence. But strength isn't everything. What makes this story beautiful is its stillness, the way the spiral lived without attention, the way it moved with no audience, the way it simply was. These kinds of tornadoes remind us that the atmosphere doesn't need to shout. It doesn't always arrive with drama. Sometimes it spins in peace. So tonight, let yourself drift into that same quiet motion. A soft breeze across a field, a spiral too small to be seen, a sky that gave birth to a tornado, and then went still again. The weak tornado that surprised everyone wasn't weak in meaning. It was just gentle. And like many of the world's most beautiful things, it came and went without needing to be loud. Sometimes the warnings come too late, or not at all, and a spiral touches the earth before anyone knows it's there. Tonight, we pause, not to assign blame, but to listen to the soft wisdom that lives in every missed forecast. Meteorology is not a perfect science. It is a gentle, evolving conversation between data and sky, between technology and intuition. And though our tools are sharp and our eyes are watchful, there are moments still when a tornado forms without enough time for the message to be sent. A missed warning is never from carelessness. It comes from the sky's refusal to move in only one way. Sometimes the rotation starts too low, too fast. In a fold of air, radar cannot reach. Sometimes the signals don't line up. The couplet is too faint, the storm too small, the data inconclusive. And yet, the air turns, a funnel dips, a touchdown happens, and then it's over before anyone fully understands. In the past, these moments may have been lost completely, unnoticed, unrecorded, but today they are studied, marked, held up, not as failure, but as lessons. Because every missed warning teaches us something about timing, about the edges of technology, about what the atmosphere does when we're not looking. And meteorologists, who care deeply, take those moments to heart. They refine models, they update algorithms, they search for quieter clues, not out of guilt, but out of wonder, because the goal is never to control the sky, only to understand it a little more with each passing cloud. So tonight, we let go of the need to always be right, and instead we honor the learning, the quiet, patient work of listening better, noticing sooner, responding more wisely next time. Missed warnings are not failures. They are part of the puzzle, part of the growing wisdom that flows between earth and air. Let that thought soften your breath. Let it teach you gently that mistakes are only beginnings when held with care, and the sky is always waiting to be read again. Imagine the sky as a great puzzle, not made of sharp-edged pieces, but of soft signals, temperatures, wind, humidity, clouds, each piece moving, shifting, changing shape as it connects to the next. Tonight, we float between those pieces, watching how forecasting is not about certainty, but about harmony. A single storm is made of hundreds of clues. A boundary here, a downdraft there, a pocket of rising warmth hidden beneath layers of cool air. Meteorologists are not fortune tellers. They are puzzle solvers, assemblers of the sky. They gather pieces from radar, from satellites, from surface sensors and storm spotters. Each tool adds a thread to the tapestry. And still, the picture is never fully clear, because the puzzle is alive. It breathes, it spins, it changes even as we watch. Forecasting, then, is not about finishing the puzzle, but about seeing enough of it to understand what may come next. It is reading a book where the pages are still being written, even as your eyes move forward. Sometimes the pieces fall into place beautifully, a perfect picture of what's coming. Other times, a piece is missing or shaped differently than expected, and yet the effort remains the same: gentle, curious, devoted. Meteorologists don't seek perfection, they seek understanding. Each day, they learn to see a little more clearly. Each storm, they notice a new pattern, a new edge, a new piece that fits, and behind all of it, there is care. Forecasting is not only science, it is hope, it is responsibility, it is love for the world below the sky. So, tonight, as you breathe deeply and rest, picture that vast, unfolding puzzle: soft clouds, sweeping radar beams, gentle swirls, invisible boundaries, and hands, quiet, steady hands, working to put it all together. Not to control the weather, but to understand its language, piece by piece, day by day. And in that work, in that rhythm, there is something beautiful. The sky may always change, but we are learning how to listen. Long before radar swept the skies, before satellites circled the Earth, before supercomputers whispered their predictions, there were eyes, human eyes, watching, listening, noticing. Tonight, we honor the humble power of observation, the quiet way people notice the sky when no one else is looking. Many tornadoes are first seen not by machines, but by those walking a field, or sitting on a porch, or watching from a window with soft wonder. A child playing near the woods might spot a twist in the trees. A farmer, used to reading the clouds like old stories, might see the lowering base, the telltale spin. A hiker might pause, feeling the stillness shift before the first breeze curls through the grass. Their voices often reach us before the radar does. A phone call, a report, a simple message: "I think I just saw something." And often they're right. These are the spotters of the world, not always trained, not always official, but always attuned. Meteorologists treasure these eyes on the ground. They fill in the spaces that radar cannot reach, those low levels where tornadoes sometimes hide, spinning softly beneath the beam. Technology can tell us much, but it doesn't live under the sky. People do. They feel the shift in wind. They notice when birds fall silent. They see the swirl in the leaves that no sensor could measure. And sometimes, because of one person's quiet watchfulness, a warning is issued. A life is saved. All because someone looked up or looked around. This is the gentle truth. You don't need special tools to see something important. You only need to notice. So tonight, as you rest, know that you are part of this story, the story of watching skies, of listening to the world. Close your eyes and picture a wide, quiet field. A figure stands at its edge, looking up at the clouds, not with fear, but with care. They are not searching for danger, only understanding, and sometimes that is more than enough. We've wandered through spirals and stillness. We've floated with funnels, followed quiet curls of wind, and listened for the soft breath of storms before they speak. And now we reach the end, but the sky keeps going. Tonight, we close our journey with a truth as old as weather itself. The sky keeps her secrets. Even with satellites watching from above, even with radar spinning, even with algorithms whispering predictions from millions of points of data, she surprises us. A tornado where none was expected, a storm that spins too fast to catch, or none at all, when all signs seem to say, yes, it was coming. And yet, this isn't failure. It is mystery, the kind that doesn't need solving, but honoring. Because the atmosphere isn't a machine. It is a living, breathing poem, written in currents, revised in clouds, and sometimes spoken only in silence. Meteorologists do their best to read its lines, to understand its rhythm, but still, the sky writes its own stories, and some of them are just for her. A private dance of winds above an open field, a hidden spiral beneath the rain, a pattern no one saw, but that happened just the same. So, as we close this chapter, we don't need to have every answer. We don't need to decode every motion. It's enough to watch, to listen, to wonder, and to rest, because the sky will always turn, and we, gentle observers beneath her ever-changing quilt, will keep watching, not to control, but to understand, not to solve, but to sit beside her stories as they unfold. And now, as your breath slows and your thoughts drift into cloud-soft sleep, know this: you are part of the weather too, and some secrets, like the wind, like the stars, like the spiral that touches down and lifts again, are meant to be watched, not caught. The sky keeps her secrets, and in that is peace. And as our journey winds down, we've gently wandered through skies where tornadoes form in silence, where radar misses the whisper, and where even the quietest clouds can stir with secret motion. We've drifted through layers of air, followed spirals born from stillness, and listened to the language of the wind, not in fear, but in awe. I hope this brought you a sense of calm, a soft place to land at the edge of your day. May the mysteries of the atmosphere feel a little lighter now, a little slower, a little more like lullabies in motion. If you'd like to support these gentle weather journeys, feel free to like or subscribe, only if it feels right to you. These small gestures help other sleepy travelers find their way here too. Now, let your body grow still. Let your thoughts drift light. Let the last breeze of the day carry you gently towards sleep. You can rest now. Good night. Peaceful dreams and calm skies to you.